Yo! Video games.
Now I'm going to ask you this, Max. You played the beta of Avengers. Did you feel that when you were playing the Avengers? Did you feel like badass when you were playing Iron Man or Hulk? Did you feel like, oh shit, I'm fucking Iron Man or I'm Hulk?
No.
I felt cool.
I did not feel anything. I felt like I was running around and just mashing a button on dudes. I did play a harder mission, but I found that the more difficult stuff, and I was underleveled for the mission, I found that the harder mission just had shit flying at me from off screen that I couldn't see. And the game was not notifying me of what was flying at me. So and I mean, even Ghost of Tsushima kind of has that, but enemies will like tell you, they'll be like an audio cue. They'll and then they'll shoot you with an arrow. In Avengers, there was so much of just like, I can't even tell what's happening. Like, there's so much weird shit, like, at all times.
What were the characters that you used in Marvel?
So you're using the wrong characters.
I used all of them. I mean, Captain America is the most fun. Yeah. But Black Widow was the most of like the three playables between Captain Marvel, Hulk, and Black Widow. I think Black Widow was the most engaging. But then I was just doing the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over.
I was using Hulk and I was doing air combos to air grabs, slamming people on the ground, and doing like ultra grabs with fucking with Hulk.
You just grab one dude and you grab another dude, right?
Yeah, I was getting full air combos with Hulk, or not air combos, air juggles. Like I was getting like major juggles.
Well, right, but you can air juggle the basic bitches, but anyone that's got a shield, you can't do that.
Oh yeah, Hulk, you kept like go around him.
The actual enemies that aren't like complete cannon fodder, you can't do that stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, which is funny because there's this weird contradiction. There's all this interesting combat in the game, and there's all these cool combo videos, but the combo videos are only against the most like shittiest of enemies.
Yeah.
You can't actually do them like in Devil May Cry. You would find a moment to parry this really difficult enemy for a moment, and it would leave it staggered. And as long as you kept their ass in the air, you could keep it going until they hit the ground and they would reset. But in Avengers, it was like it felt completely different. Like it felt like I was just repeating a lot of the same stuff over and over again, and maybe I just have to wait to unlock a whole bunch of things. I still want to try it again.
Unlock and stuff like that. Well, Hulk is like pretty quick too, like the characters with the shields. So I was like, oh man, I can't juggle this guy, or I can't like do a combo on this guy. So I had to use a specific move to open up his shield, and then I was able to like grab him.
Yeah. Then that's like the same thing for every shield guy, and then you get like a big mech like robot spider thing. Yeah, and you just don't really fight it, you just wail away at it.
So here's an example. Like I upgraded like some of my moves, and so instead of like doing punch with Hulk, I would launch him up, get a couple punches in there, grab the guy, and use him by bashing the other characters.
Yeah.
Then I would grab another guy. I have two guys in my hand, and I'm literally slamming other dudes in the air while collecting dudes as I'm getting air jungle. So I was having a ton of fun with Hulk, with just doing stupid stuff and trying to figure out what I can get away with the character. So I guess it just depends on what you're used to.
So my big thing, I was looking at like the loop of the game. I'm like, so what is there is no like costumes, right? There is no when do you play Avengers in here? Hold on a second. There's unique costumes per character, but there's not like customizability, right? I think is the word I'm looking for. You get like stat stuff, right? It's all stat gear. So you get the ability to make something or another thing better, but actually visually seeing the difference on your character isn't there, right?
No, because I'm using what's her name right now? I'm using the she's actually kind of fun too. She's a little different, but this is me just learning how to use her. And I was with a group. I was with like Base and Curious Joy and a couple other people, and we're doing team games. And like you said, like there's no way, like that guy just shot me. Like there's no way for me to know what's coming at me in any way, shape, or form. You just have to kind of.
This game has aggressive motion blur.
They're toning it down.
The camera shakes was crazy.
No, like, dude, the motion blur and the camera shake made when the beta first came out, it was like unplayable for me. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening.
The chat complained about it as soon as I turned it on, so I had to shut it off immediately.
But in the later betas, they toned all of that shit down.
Yeah. doing the moves where the character slows down. Like I'll jump in the air with Hulk, and then I'll have like a pause moment, and then boom, slam on the floor and lift the people up. Is really cool too, because then as they pop up in the air, you can get another combo on the way down, and then maybe grab them, use that character. What is it? Base? I think it was Base Freak. He was Iron Man, and Iron Man has the Hulk Buster. So he would bring up the Hulk Buster. It'll sit there in the middle, and I'm like, okay, well, Iron Man get in the damn thing and start kicking everybody's ass. He was like, nah, you can get in there. I was like, what? Yeah, the Hulk can jump in the Hulk Buster. So I'm literally jumping in the Hulk Buster as Hulk, smashing dudes all over.
But the funny thing is, the Hulkbuster's move list isn't nearly as good as Hulk's.
Oh no, not at all.
It's like you turn into a lame version of Hulk when you get in the Hulkbuster.
Yeah, it's just the idea that he can bring in a tool that allows the other players to use different stuff other than punch, kick, and smash and stuff like that. It has a lot of diversity in some of the combat system outside of this punch.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, there was a lot of weird stuff. There's no camera reset in the game, number one.
No.
It's very odd, and it was a weird thing in Ghost of Tsushima as well, but I get it for Ghost of Tsushima because like they're trying to go for this cinematic thing, and they don't want you to be able to like flip your camera all over the place, even though they should.
Yeah.
It was really weird in this game how you cannot reset the camera, so you're constantly like flipping this thing left and right to just try to see what the hell is going on.
That was the most bizarre thing about Ghost of Tsushima, was the fact that you couldn't lock on to anybody. Like there was no.
Yeah, I always found that the weird. It's like there's no lock on. That's so weird.
It takes a while to get used to.
But yeah, you get used to it afterwards. You're like, oh, okay, I see why they did that.
Yeah, not even an option, just bizarre, but whatever.
Yeah, but I liked it without locking on. So
I don't know. I feel for me personally, from the bit of time that I had with Avengers, I played it a little bit on PC, and it still had some pretty big issues.
Yeah, you played the early. Yeah, you probably played the super early version too of the beta.
Oh, I know. I played the second beta on PC after they fixed the camera shake, and it was more playable, but the game still was running at a pretty shitty frame rate on a 2080 Ti. I was like,
damn.
Wow. Okay. So I was struggling to get 60 on most stages, and anything above that, which is pretty nuts. So I don't know. Like for me, I'm struggling to see the really captivating loop. If you get a costume for your character, you have that costume. But if you actually are, the loot that you're going for in this game is strictly numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the weird part. It's just numbers.
Well, because it came out that like every individual character will have their own unique battle pass. So like that's how you get the costumes and stuff. But
the costumes are just cosmetic, right? If you want to make your character if you want to make your character do stuff, the loot is actually all tied to the number crunching of the game. You know? So gear will affect visuals of moves.
Interesting.
I haven't seen any of that yet, though. Yeah. I think they like, what is it, like Tony? They did mention like you can get like Tony's proton blast to be like green or something like that. But actually, like to change the look of the costumes, like what your character looks like. I'm pretty sure that they already were saying that this is set in stone, right? You can't have your own personal customized Iron Man outside of like the costumes that they give you.
I think it's going to be like set because everything's going to be tied to like character specific like trees or like skill trees, if you will, or unlock trees. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like I can mix and match my colors and in costume pieces. I think it's because that's all tied to cosmetics, which is where that's where they're making all their money on this game. Is by people paying $10 for all.
So yeah, free then.
No,
but well, the game is like, how is that they're making their money? Because it's $60 anyway.
The game is a $60, but the thing is, I can at least say I don't think you're getting ripped off because the game is a $60 game with a full campaign, right? Yeah. That's offline or online, depending on whatever you want to do. So it is what it is. I mean, I actually don't think that any of that is bad. It's just that for me personally, in what I played, it was a 6 out of 10. Like it was just extremely. There was nothing like super exciting or exemplary about what was going on other than that the graphics look pretty good sometimes, like a lot of crazy effects and explosions outside of some gripes, but I don't know, like there was nothing that really like grabbed me. At least I can say this. At least when we played Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, it had that stupid ass gimmick that made me excited every single time we played the game. What was it? Yeah. Everyone got their super meter. Unleash, unleash, unleash. And the whole fucking screen would like, you know, some crazy stupid gimmick where everybody would be flipping out, and it was like fun to build up to that, right?
There's no genuine supers like oh, user. Okay, so. There is supers in the game, but I guess you can access them so fast, it are so frequent that it doesn't really feel like, oh, this is the mega super that I built up this whole round for. You know what I mean?
Samurai mode, rage mode,
there
or
are
ghost
supers
mode
in the game.
Yeah, like
triangle.
I don't think the game is specifically bad, even though I'm saying it's like a 6, potentially a 7 from what I played. I don't think it's like bad. It's just like so
generic.
Middle of the road, right? Like I don't feel in any one direction about anything intense that's going on. I actually jumped in and I really wanted to like it. But for me, it was like nothing was really standing out. The thing that kept bugging the shit out of me though is that Tony Stark sounds like Deadpool. Like everything that Iron Man says, it sounds like something Deadpool would say. So he seems like such a different character.
Is it the same voice actor?
Yeah, it is. Nolan North. Because Nolan North did Deadpool.
Right. Iron Man.
He says like Iron Man says bustin' makes me feel good. I'm like, what? There's a Ghostbusters joke in here. That's totally something that fucking Deadpool would say.
Yeah,
and it's weird, man.
I will say that, and I've said this, like, you know,
Dum Dugan.
From a purely aesthetic point of view, like this game looks like it has a lot of budget put into it, right? Like it looks like they spent some money on it.
Sure.
But I actually like the way Ultimate Avengers looks more, like or Ultimate Alliance 3. Sorry,
you just mean in terms of art style, right?
Art style, 100% art style. Like obviously, I'm not saying like that the technical graphics are better on the game we played last year.
Yeah.
But I prefer the way the characters looked in that game.
Well,
those are Koei Tecmo artists and stuff, and it's kind of got like this very.
But they're going for obviously they're going for the comic book look, right? They're going for the superhero look.
What a weird thing to do in a comic book game, but
the thing is too, I think with that, like it's looking like the movie, but then it's looking like these weird actors, and you're like, what the fuck? Who is this fucking fake looking
for some
Tony
reason,
Stark? Who's this fucking fake Thor? And it just
I didn't have a problem with the way Captain America looked in Marvel Ultimate Alliance or like Wolverine or Hulk or any of these other characters that are in this game. I didn't have a problem with the way they looked in that game because they're cartoonish representations of what the characters look like. And I mean, I get what it's from Marvel, like what they're going for. They're going for, we want to emulate the movie experience, right? We want you to make the cinematic movie experience. And obviously these devs do that with Tomb Raider all the time, so they're just going to do it.
But I think they're at a weird crossroads though, because like they want the movie experience, but they don't want to use the actors'
likenesses.
So
it's weird.
So you've got this thing that's got like this crazy high budget and technical prowess going on here, but then you make them look like someone that we're not accustomed to seeing for the last 10 plus years, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. I'm actually pulling up an image. The weird new Avengers do things. I'm just like, it just looks like they're fucking funky stunt doubles. Like, who are they? And I feel like that's like a big, that's like a problem that they run into with 10 years of association of what these characters look like, who they're portrayed by. It's like.
If all of a sudden your dad comes in and he's like a different looking person, you're like,
but he has the same facial hair and everything else, the same costume. You're like, what? Who are you? The fuck is going on,
Dad? What are you talking about, son?
The most normal character out of the whole game is Kamala. Why is it? Because she does not have like a real life representation in a big movie or something. Like she actually looks fine.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening there. Is like she's great. In a sense, because you have no point of reference for a realistic look for her.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, for Ultimate Alliance 3, it was just like I'm so used to that frankly Capcom fighting game aesthetic. I'm so used to that Jim Lee meets Eastern style of fighting games. I'm just like, that's in my brain. That is how I'll always view Marvel and the X-Men is
what's
MVC games.
It's an interesting conversation because what's the big difference between this and Spider-Man PS4?
I get it.
I'll tell you right now, it's because Spider-Man's face is always covered.
Yeah.
80% of that game, you're not looking at not Tobey Maguire.
That's true.
So
or not Andrew Holson mixed spirit face.
And plus, their faces changed multiple times too. But when you see his face, you're just kind of like,
Mary Jane and Aunt May and all those characters change like all the time. So I guess that's not as much an issue in that situation.
And Spider-Man has definitely changed through the movies a lot. And
because Spider-Man PS4 is exactly what we're talking about. Like it's like a super hyper realistic version of Spider-Man, like meant to emulate the movies in many ways. More, I feel it feels more Sam Raimi than anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for some reason that feels completely okay, and this feels weird. So. It's a weird conversation.
I think it's because you're seeing like this guy. He don't look up.
Yeah, this guy
like Mark Ruffalo. He doesn't look anything like Mark Ruffalo at all. He looks like someone like who's gonna play like Ned Flanders in a live action Simpsons.
Honestly, if they didn't tell you, oh yeah, that's Hulk, you'd be like, oh okay. Like you wouldn't know. Like even Hulk with like facial hair kind of throws people off. Like Hulk has as Hulk when he becomes like Hulkanized and everything like that, he's like he kind of has like a 5 o'clock shadow. Like why does he have that? Like it's the weirdest thing.
So Steve, tell me, I have a deep question for you because this affects us on a personal level.
Ooh, this can be deep.
Is this game better than Ryu being a scientist?
No. Ryu being a scientist is probably the best thing that's ever happened in the history of mankind.
The whole Hulk and Ryu get together because they're scientists.
Yeah. That's something
you forgot that in MVCI? Ryu's like, I'm a I've been traveling to dimensions, searching like I'm a scientist. Like, there's some dumb shit that they put Ryu in when he comes to Wakanda to talk to the Hulk. He's like, I'm a scientist as well. Like,
that would work.
No, it said Ryu says, I'm on a research mission, and I'm here in Wakanda.
What?
Yeah, I have to play through MVCI story mode again. I have to.
When it comes to the story of MVCI, I literally blocked everything out.
I can't wait.
Unless the only part I remember is Dante and fucking Iron Man going because we're awesome guys. High five.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me see if I can Ryu.
That would make so much more sense if it was Ken. Like that'd be a really cute nod, wouldn't it?
It would be. I mean, yeah, because Ken is a fucking character that is a scientist in Street Fighter 2010.
Right.
Here we go.
How did you miss that?
T'Challa, the captive.
Your Majesty, I know who you are, Ryu. What business have you in Valkonda? I was part of a research mission, studying anomalies caused by the
What were you eating lots of food. I was also sitting under a waterfall
and eating lots of food.
Okay.
Some vortex.
Okay, what?
You guys forgot this. I can't wait to play this again. It's going to be incredible. Just riff on it.
What? And where is this scientist?
It's me.
He's here.
I'm suddenly here.
Oh, scientist.
Who hired Ryu to do that stuff?
Isn't it?
Like, who told
Marvel Infinite Story is insane, dude. It's so like.
I don't understand. Why was he?
Does anyone know where these characters come from?
Part?
Okay, I have to say,
never needed a story.
Doesn't make any sense.
I've been playing some not good video games recently on Monday.
Yeah,
you've probably seen them. The Project Cross Zone games.
Oh yeah, right.
They're not good.
That is so confusing.
What they do get is
I don't remember that. I must have blanked out.
I must have blacked out.
Like I don't remember that at all.
Why
is he doing that role?
Steve passed out.
It seems like they just took the role of somebody else and just inserted it into Ryu for some reason.
So like those games, they're not good, but you know what? They get the characters down very well.
In
right?
Project X Zone?
Yeah, Project Cross Zone, the characters very much like there's dumb shit with Ryu where they're like, oh, we're in this building or thing, it's about to collapse, right? And like how are we going to escape? We're so high up, and Ryu's like, just follow my lead, just Tatsuyuki Ryukin right before you hit the ground. Like, that is literally his serious advice to everyone.
That's amazing.
I'm okay
with that.
Like, yeah, it works, and like BB Hood's in there, and she's like super evil and twisted, and I'm reminded, I'm like, oh yeah, BB Hood is bad in these games.
Oh, she's insane. Yeah, she's psychotic.
She's like a psychotic killer. That's right. Like she's the only human, but also evil.
Was she supposed to be like Baby Hood is a villain?
No, she's a murderous, insane psychopath.
Yeah, and
Baby Hood hunts the vampires. She hunts the Darkstalkers.
Okay.
And she does it under the guise of a cute girl.
Yeah, it's a cross between.
Yeah, like there's nothing like. There's moments that are nice where like you'll beat a guy up with Ryo from Shenmue. And he like asks like Kiryu and Majima, do you know where I can find some sailors? And like Majima's like, damn boy, you sure ask a lot about sailors. And like,
what?
That game just sounds fun. That just sounds like, and then you have to unfortunately play the game.
Then you have to play the game, and it's like,
all the fan service carries the shit out of it, right?
Yeah, and like they have this cool shit with like Dante and Virgil like always bickering.
You see, I feel like that would be such a fun approach to a Marvel vs. Capcom game. Right? Like a super referential, just extremely lighthearted and goofy ass, like, instead of a story mode, arcade modes, right? Just give us like ridiculous arcade modes. And I think the thing that is missing from a lot of fighting games now is interesting arcade mode bosses and fights. Like, make it like some crazy requirement going through an arcade mode to get some weird version of like, I don't know, Mega Man X, or get some funky like all of a sudden you're fighting like Carnage or something, and it's just Venom
like
but
back
red.
in the day, you couldn't lose a character, and then you got to fight
and
if
you beat the game, you either get a special ending or you get like a costume or some goofy thing, right? Just more funky old like boss fights that are hard to get to are really fun to do.
If they bring back Marvel or like whatever, you don't need to spend a lot of money on a story mode. Just give us some good arcade endings again, like back in the day. Like
some goofy endings, characters just talking to each other and saying some
Eddie Gordo,
saying some funny shit.
I miss those things. Like,
if anything, they should do what they did with CVS2, but expand it even further, where it's like how you perform in a battle will determine if like certain people come to challenge you.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And then you get like at least many, or I don't know, you just get a bunch of different.
You have these goals.
Yeah, you have these different endings and different challenges depending on how you do during the regular arcade ladder match. You don't have to make like a giant story mode. Just you can have like very very simple branching pathways or whatever, different endings. I don't know.
And if you beat that ending, you get like a special color for the character or some shit.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Like an unlockable, something to show you that you were able to beat this boss or something like that.
Yeah, you got to like not Cyberkuma, you got to like Shinakuma.
So then you get the
purple thing. Yeah. Like I think more fighting games should just do that. Like you don't need these branching stories. You know what? That's NetherRealm. You're not gonna have the budget for it. So don't try it. Give us some in-game graphic endings that look cool.
It's pretty clear at the end of all things that story modes kind of belong to NRS. Just let them do their thing.
Let them do it.
Don't try to copy them, because so far it hasn't worked for anyone.
No. And it wastes time.
And to be frank, you would say that worked for Tekken, and it did work for Tekken, but Tekken didn't really do NRS to that degree. No. They didn't go all the way that like Street Fighter V and MVCI did. They did
cool,
a little bit of it.
Yeah. Still not there.
Yeah.
I would rather have just classic give us classic arcade endings. Those were always fun. Those were always I liked. You can keep the cost down of the game by giving us classic arcade endings.
Well, I know you're a little bummed about, a lot of people are bummed about like X-Men and Doom showing up in Fortnite.
Yeah.
But like part of me, as we were just talking about like with the other game, I'm like, I kind of would rather Capcom not get in bed with Marvel again, even like at this point. I'd almost be, I know a lot of people are always fine with Capcom versus Capcom. I want like Sega versus Capcom or Namco versus Capcom. Like,
I'd be fine with something like that. Over the years, games like that, like it's like, oh yeah, you want to have like an HD remaster or something like that, and they'll be like, well, we can't get the license because
it's just become more and more difficult.
Stuff like that. I honestly, I agree with Simmons on maybe just. Capcom needs to do their own thing, so they don't have to worry about fucking getting licenses later on for the same game that they want to bring out, like in the future. Like I'm so tired of that. It's like, let's have a HD remix of Marvel vs. Capcom. Well, we have to get the license from Marvel, and that company doesn't exist anymore or some bullshit. Like it's annoying to have to deal with that stuff. Even though we want those dream matches, like we've always been.
Well,
hoping for. It's just
the reason
it seems to be too much work now.
The reason we've been
another game company at least, because at least that's easier to manage than Marvel and Disney.
The reason we've been soured so hard is that the relationships that have gone back to the past 2 games, specifically MVCI and Marvel 3, and even to an extent Capcom versus SNK, have been soured by business, right? There were things that happened during the development of all those games that just said, fuck it, we're done. Like, no more. Like, screw this shit. We're like, we're not working with you anymore. And then they come back and they do it again. Fuck it, we're not working with you anymore. Like, yeah, it's kind of like the nature of doing crossovers. Like, no one can seem to come to a concise agreement on shit.
Everyone has an idea.
Except Sakurai.
Except Smash Bros.
Except Harada.
Jesus Christ, yeah. The last game, we'll get them back. They'll come back to this next game. Don't worry.
Someone said, why isn't Black Panther in Marvel's Avengers? Don't worry. That's gonna happen eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's absolutely gonna happen. Hawkeye and, Ant-Man and all those characters are eventually gonna happen in this game. Yeah. It's just that they're waiting.
Although even Sakurai, as you pointed out, we all caught it really quick, where he was saying, like, I don't know how to tell you this, guys, but we're not going to be able to do anything like this ever again. For Smash Brothers.
No, like, that's what I have to say to Smash fans, that you guys are living in the best Smash will ever be right now. Yeah. Like in this lifetime.
He was pretty adamant, saying, like, guys, you're never going to get these many characters from these many companies ever again together. Yeah. Like, enjoy it while you can. Like, this shit. He says,
like, what Smash Brothers is now is like an impossibility to make this happen again, because he has too much influence, and by the time it could happen again, he's not going to be working on the games anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be someone else.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And that's why I say, Smash, they should never stop making this version of Smash, right? Yeah. This version of Smash Brothers should just be what they change and modify from this point forward.
Yep.
Which is why I kind of hope they do come to that realization at some point. Like, just be like, you know what? Forget it. Just keep making content.
Are you saying that as a whole, or are you saying that just for this generation?
I'm saying as a whole, dude. Like, keep this version of Smash Brothers into whatever next generation they have. They go from the Switch to the Flip or whatever the fuck they call it.
Yeah.
To just keep this version of Smash Brothers going, because there's what's going to happen when the next generation console happens from Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's like a pair of pants with a screen, and you are going to be playing the new Smash Brothers that comes out on it, and it's going to be a brand new Smash. So what are they just going to do? Reintroduce all the same Nintendo characters that were in it before, and they're going to take away all the third-party characters. That's just the natural progression of what will happen eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll maybe get Sonic and Mega Man back or something.
It happened with Brawl when Snake wasn't in Smash Brothers 4. It took another game to eventually get them to have that shit happen. So
and it was damn near lost Cloud too. So
yeah, they almost lost Cloud, according to Sakurai. Like, there was like a very short time gap that they could actually to get Cloud even back in it.
Yeah. So, well, he never flat out said it was Cloud, but I was just looking like
it was fucking Cloud.
I'm like, it's Cloud.
Yeah. It was like, heavily implied.
He's like, there was one character in particular that was extremely, and almost came this close to not happening. I'm like, it's fucking Cloud. I know it's Cloud.
So that's what we're saying. It's like licensing and business deals and likeness and all these things end up being a huge,
as much as we
thing.
Like that stuff, it actually ends up ruining the game for future versions and stuff.
Unfortunately, like, as someone that actually knows what happened with MVCI, and I know what happened with Marvel 3, it really, I can tell you, it wasn't down to the licensing. It really wasn't. It was down to relationships, and it was down to like people working with each other. So, all things considered, like, believe it or not, the licensing usually isn't the problem, because once you pay for the licensing, that's it, and you're sort of done. Like, you pay for the ability to use all the characters, and that's it.
Yeah, the license expires down the years, and you just can't. You have to like.
And it can if shit goes south and suddenly like, fuck these guys. Like, then all of a sudden, what caused the license to go away was actually the relationships. Like, the business relationship went to shit.
Yeah.
So.
But okay, so then let's say you have Capcom. It's like, okay, we did Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and we had the good relationships with Marvel. But then Marvel gets acquired by Disney, and Disney's like, oh yeah, you want our characters? It'll cost you $500,000 for one.
Well, here's a crazy thing.
If only it cost that
much. Marvel, and Disney, and whoever the hell else, and Fox, and like whoever owns these characters in Capcom. Well, specifically like the Marvel division. Disney doesn't make those fucking choices. Marvel itself doesn't make those choices. It's a different thing now. Marvel Games does. Marvel Games has a studio in LA, and Marvel Games was like made within the past 4 or 5 years or so with the intent of bringing back Marvel Games. And they have the ability to use whatever fucking characters they want.
Nice.
Unfortunately, we're seeing that now. I mean, not really unfortunately, we're seeing it now because Doctor Doom's walking around, you know, with Storm looking amazing in fucking Fortnite and shit. But a few years ago, it was a different story when they didn't own the ability to use all those characters in whatever the hell they wanted. Now it's like, people are like, oh man, you can't use Spider-Man in, Spider-Man can't show up in the Avengers game. And I'm like, bullshit, he can't. Like, he was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. He just was in a game.
Yeah.
Then they're like, why isn't Spider-Man on everything? Because of money. Like, they could put him on everything, and to be honest, Spider-Man will eventually show up on PC and shit. Like, he's going to be on other consoles and Xbox. It's just that for now, they want you to buy the PlayStation version, because what does PlayStation have? A lot of money. They have a lot of money. So they want to do whatever it takes to get you to buy the PlayStation version. It's nothing to do with, like, a rights issue. It's just that Sony bought his ass out.
Yeah.
So,
It's like back in the day if someone said Spawn can't be on PS2 or GameCube because Spawn is an Xbox,
absolute bullshit.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that's what they decided. Like,
yeah, like Bandai Namco went to those developers and were like, Sony's gonna give us this much for an exclusive character, Microsoft's gonna do this, and Nintendo's gonna do this. Like, they're gonna give us the money to do this, and we're not gonna have them release on anything else. Oh, fuck it, we'll just do it later. You know?
Yeah.
They just did it later anyway, because those agreements are over. So it's not really down to like a contractual crazy business like Marvel, Sony, Disney, like type of thing, because those don't really affect the video game part of it. Funny enough, they affect the movies.
Well, so at the end of the day, doesn't Disney have the final say? So let's say Marvel Games decides,
no,
oh,
not at all.
This character.
Marvel Games has nothing to do with like Disney directly unless this crazy big mandate happens or something, which doesn't really exist. Yeah. They're their own company that chooses what the fuck is going on. They chose to make a deal with Sony to put Spider-Man exclusively in Sony. Why? Because Spider-Man and Sony have a relationship. Like they've made games on that system before.
Yeah,
that's all it really is.
And to kind of back that up, that point a little bit, is that their studios do operate independently of each other, because if you remember when Battlefront 2 was coming out and it got all that negative press and it was actually going to like courts and shit, right, about how exploitive it was.
Sure.
Daddy Iger, Bob Iger, found out about it,
right,
and was like, what the fuck is this? And you might think, well, didn't Disney want there to be all that microtransaction and shit? I'm like, no, that was someone else in a different department. And Disney, even though they own Star Wars, weren't fully aware of just what was going on. And then they found out, and then they're like, all right, hold on.
It just comes down to individuals in those departments making decisions, like executive decisions. I can tell you, MVCI, we were told specifically from a good friend at Capcom that we had known for a very long time, that the characters that you love are not forgotten. And like, you have to just wait, like, just give it some time for MVCI, right? And of course, there was somebody at Marvel Games that absolutely could have put in other characters. They could have immediately had said, yeah, we can put in, X-Men. We just don't want to. We want to promote the movies. That was just a choice from someone at Marvel Games to not do that. However, it was heavily rumored from people that we've even had discussions with that there were going to be X-Men later on as DLC. Why? Because X-Men were the popular characters and they wanted to milk the DLC money. That's the reason. Like the reason no one bought their bullshit, because
that's business, but it's bad business.
Exactly.
It's literally a company.
What was the game that came out before Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite?
Yeah, it's literally a company that doesn't understand the market and how to just generate money.
What was the previous Capcom game that came out before MVCI? Do you remember?
Wasn't MVC3?
No. Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah.
The exact same shit was happening again. They were going to keep characters
that's the problem.
Save them because they were going to be popular.
See, that's the thing is that is companies not learning their lesson. I figured that after the debacle of Street Fighter X Tekken and the backlash that they got, that they would learn their lesson and be like, okay, well, we know that this was a bad business practice. Let's try to fix that.
You would think that
the same thing again. And
you would think that you would think the person making those decisions would get demoted 3 times and they'd eventually be kicked out of the company. Anyway, moving on. Oh, it's a long, dusty road out there. Shit. Okay. Anyway. Whoa. Man, you guys want to play some MVCI?
Let me get my stick.
Yeah.
Let me whip it out.
Let's. It's got a hot and spicy. Oh my god. Jesus.